Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to a new segment here on Stateside Footy. It is now our Sunday Spurs conversation. And of course, this show has actually been in the works for quite a bit. And of course, timing definitely plays a role into it. But finally, we were able to hammer some things out. And of course, the one person that I thought would be perfect for this is the person that, of course, naturally would fit into this. He's the legendary Spurs YouTuber of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, Tottenham Till We Die. And of course, it is the Dermotron. Good afternoon, Derma.
Do you know what? I'm not a legend, but I would take the compliment. Thank you very much. And look, anyone that does this are legends. Anyone that talks about Tottenham in this present time deserves a medal because we are going through a tough time at the moment. But look, it's great to be here. It's great to talk Spurs and all things football, which football is brings people together. Football unites people. And that's what we want to try to bring with this show. That we're united everyone and our love for football and Tottenham and with the World Cup coming up as well, which I cannot wait for. Ireland at the World Cup. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, Steve. We get there.
Oh, I think it might. Listen, you're absolutely right. That's the thing. It's like the sport may have been born and bred in England, but it's actually the world's game. It doesn't belong to anybody. There are very good footballing nations out there with absolutely the same type of passionate fans. And that's one of the things that I absolutely appreciate it because it's actually on full display, whether that's at the World Cup, the Euros, the Copa America, the Gold Cup, the Asian Cup, whatever the case may be, you see those passionate fan bases out there. And that's one of the biggest things that I absolutely love about world football and just the place of football in this world. But, the Sunday Spurs conversation, yes, of course, it's going to be centered around Spurs. Why wouldn't it be? Because that's we're just a bunch of Spurs haunts over here. But it will also be about the Premier League. It'll be about the Championship. It'll be about League One, League Two. Teams that teams over the weekend that absolutely played well and players that stood out as well too. Quiet as it's kept, I'm a big fan of the Championship. And I'm also a big fan of the Scottish Prem. I got to be honest with you. I absolutely love both leagues. It is what it is. I'm just a football junkie, so it is what it is. And I just happen to love UK football. Before we get into it, though, let's go ahead and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and also hit the notification bell as well, because yesterday we actually hit 400. And now that we're rounding 4, man, we got to hit 5 by the let's say March, April, before we actually get to the World Cup roster announcements and all those good things. I would love to be at 5 prior to it. But that being said, I would probably have a good feeling that during the World Cup, I think all of a sudden my subs might actually just might go up. I don't know, crazy thought, but I think it actually might. But until then, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons and hit the notification bell, as well as hitting over to THFC Tottenham Till We Die. Make sure you go show some Dermotron some love as well too. All right, so let's go into it. Derma, first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about yesterday's match because at this stage, I wouldn't say bewilderment is the right word, because I think we've seen this we've seen this song and dance pretty much since the beginning of November. Thomas Frank showing too much respect for his opponent, not doing enough at the start of the second half after what I actually considered was actually one of the best first halves of football I think I've seen all year. Granted, it was against Burnley, so you have to keep that in context. But that being said, he took his foot off the gas and allowed Scott Parker and Burnley to kind of grow into that game. And at one point, not only did they equalize at the end of the first half, but they took a lead as well too. And from that standpoint, like me, I'm sure you were absolutely furious that it happened. But thanks to Christian Romero and essentially that Hail Mary cross into the box that he was able to get that equalizer. Spurs were able to salvage a point. I can't believe I'm saying that. They were able to salvage a point against Burnley. So let's just go ahead and start right off there and give me your thoughts about yesterday's match.
I think what yesterday's game was such a horrific failure in how to control a game, how to go there and pick up the 3 points which we desperately needed. We knew we needed a win because West Ham winning earlier in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And look, no disrespect to Burnley. We should be beating teams like Burnley. We should have been beating teams like Wolves early in the season. It's been our season where we just haven't capitalized on the opportunities that have come forward for us. We had all the momentum, all the goodwill factor coming from a good win against Dortmund. Yes, everyone can say Dortmund wasn't great, but they're doing well in their league and they're doing quite well in the Champions League. And to beat anyone in the Champions League, I think it's an achievement. But for somehow Thomas Frank went back to basics, went back to type, went back to we will not throw anything away. And when we went 1-0 up, we should have gone for the juggler. We should have got 2, 3, put the game to bed. But we didn't. And after Burnley equalised, you can see the confidence coming out of the players. You can see it just drain. And then their mentality is, right, we've got to protect what we have. And it's not good enough, Steve. We can blame the manager all we want. And Mrs. Tron has this philosophy, and I think she's right in saying this. This is purely on the players. A manager can do only so much. He does everything to the touchline. Once them players cross the touchline, it's down on them.
Correct.
And some of these players ain't good enough, are not good enough. And I just don't know where to start. We haven't been right, Steve, since Pochettino left. And I think we've been through cycles of dismay, cycles of anger, cycles of delusion, cycles of this isn't good enough. And we had the win last year in the Europa League. That win meant so much to all of us. It gave us the best night of our lives. Like fans like you, Steve, I haven't seen us win much. You've never seen win a European trophy before. I'm lucky enough to be old enough to remember 84. So this is my second time for winning the Europa League or the Europa Cup. But it was sticking a plaster over a very big hole that was within the football club. And I think it all fell apart when Daniel Levy left the football club, when Enoch removed Levy from the head. Because there was no succession plan. There was no plan to say, right, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're doing this.
I agree with that.
And it's left us, as Rain says to me, we're rudderless at the moment. That's why they haven't sacked Thomas Frank, because they haven't got a clue who to replace him with. And Vinay is showing form like he backed Arteta for 8 years. He's now showing form, doing the same thing with Thomas Frank. So I think there's bigger problems at our football club. I think it's not just players. I think it's boardroom. I think it's people not doing their job. And I also think the final point, sorry for rambling, but the final point is I think Enoch are more concentrating on their inner fight with Daniel Levy and reducing his sharing within the club or his sharing within the Enoch company than they are on helping us succeed on the pitch. And we're now 25 days into a transfer window. What have you got to show for it? Conor Gallagher and a young 19-year-old who's only played 26 games in his career. For a club our size.
And potentially Andy Robertson from Liverpool if that one gets over the line. But yes.
I think that's a great signing, by the way. I probably will talk about it. I think it's a great signing. I think it brings a lot what we need. I also would say on top of that, bring back Hotspur as well. Because there was rumours about where might bring back Hotspur, bring him back. Should never got rid of him. But I think there's bigger problems at our football club to deal with, Steve. And I don't know where you start. Where you start to fix it, because this is going to be it's not going to be fixed overnight. It really isn't.
I would 100% agree with you. My frustration about yesterday, and for those that were tuning into the live stream yesterday, you're all 2,200 of you guys that tuned in live for that, and of course I do appreciate all that. I said it literally in the moment, right when that free kick was awarded, in the moment, and I said, listen, this is where Spurs have a tendency to fall asleep or turn off the light switch or whatever description that you wanted to use it, because Spurs have a tendency to leak goals inexplicably for no reason. And with the lineup yesterday, we actually set up with essentially what was going to be a back five. We had 3 center backs. on the pitch for a reason, right? You have Danso, you have Van de Ven, you have Romero. All three of them are extremely good in the air, and their positioning is good. And sure enough, they fell asleep, and they allowed what Twinzebe to literally head home that Twinzebe. They allowed him to essentially be unmarked in the box for that header, for that equalizer right before the half. And you're absolutely right. All you had to do was look on the faces of the players, and you saw that the wind was completely taken out of their sails. And when you actually, I was actually surprised that we even came back to even get the equalizer. If I'm being perfectly honest, because you saw the mannerisms in the second half as they started. There was no fight in this team to start the second half, and as Burnley got into that match, and of course they were going to go 2-1 up, and of course when you look at that goal, that second goal that Burnley was able to get, it was a well worked ball into the box, and it's like, where is the defender that's going to step up, get a foot in there, poke that ball away, or just muscle somebody off the ball. And of course they go 2 up, and at that point you saw the faces of the players. They look absolutely dejected. Thankfully, and of course Thomas Frank's, number one, he didn't make his changes at the 60th minute like he needed to. He didn't bring Matisse Tell on to bring a little injection into that front line. He waited until essentially the 75th minute or whatever it was after Burnley had made their changes, and of course he brings on Dane Scarlett. Brings on an extra attacker, moves Christian Romero into the forward line. I don't know if you saw that, but Christian Romero, that they played him forward. And I'm just kind of looking at it like, dude, this is the last gasp of a coach that is literally trying to find something. You know what I mean? Like anything. He's like reaching at that stage. And luckily, Romero was able to head home a rom bomb, but good Lord. That to me is essentially what this experiment has been in a nutshell. It almost feels like there is absolutely no contingency plan with Thomas Frank. It's like, this is how we're going to play. And if it succeeds, it succeeds. But if it doesn't, well, then we're just going to have to get creative. There's that to me is what the frustrating part about it is. There was no answer for a team like Burnley.
No. And we got Frankfurt on Wednesday. And, Frankfurt are not doing well at the moment. But are we going to be different like we were on Tuesday? I think the Premier League's become so competitive and so difficult at this moment that Tottenham players don't like it because there isn't the freedom. They have to show passion. They have to show fight. And do you know what? Fair play to Burnley. They come out in that second half ready for a battle. We didn't. Yeah. And to be honest with you, Steve, it's been said since Mourinho was in there. We're too nice. We are too nice. We're not nasty players. You look at other clubs, right? You look at, say, Man United, or you look at Arsenal, or you look at Liverpool, or you look at Burnley, you look at Wolves, you look at other teams around that sort of top of the league, or even at the bottom of the league. They're all nasty. They all want to put a tackle in. They all want, we're going to leave your foot. We don't do that. We're too nice. And I don't know where this too nice has come from. We could quite easily get relegated this year. We're only 8 points off West Ham. When are players going to wake up? When are the owners going to wake up? We sleepwalking into relegation. And I go back, and you know how much I love my Spurs history. Mm-hmm. We went through this after Bill Nick left. We went through between 73, 74, 74, 75, 75, 76, where we flirted with relegation for 2 or 3 seasons. 76, 77, we went down. Now, I'm seeing a lot on X, Steve, probably as you, and I'll ask you this question. I do not agree with the narrative going down is going to be a good thing for us. I don't think it is. Also, I don't think is the narrative going around that Enid would then suddenly start spending. I don't think so. So my question to you is, do you think the club think they've got the mentality of we're too big to go down? Because if they're thinking that, that's a very dangerous take to take.
What's interesting, Dermot, is this question that you asked was asked yesterday on the Irish Hotspur. Shout out to Dave and Jack. My take on this was, I was alive when they said that the banks were too big to fail. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they've ensconced themselves with solid investments and blah 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 blah. But that being said, under the right environment, Dermot, they failed. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like they failed. And that is the thing. That is the thing with Tottenham Hotspur, is you can never say never. And that's the thing. It's like, I will push back on the narrative that a relegation would actually be terrible for this club. I actually think it would be very good for this club. And I'll tell you why. Because it's going to force Edict to take a hard look at themselves and clean house. Because on the watch, that relegation happened on the watch of Vinny Venkatesham. It happened on the watch of Johan Lang. Mm-hmm. And Paratici's getting out right at the right time. Understand that. But here's the thing: Paratici is willing to go to a team that is going to get relegated themselves.
Yeah,
just to get out. Just to get out. And that's the thing, is you're not going to be able to blame it on Paratici, right? But this thing, it will happen on the watch of these two guys who swear up and down that they have the secret sauce needed to get Tottenham turned around. And it would force Vivian Lewis and it would force Charrington and Joe Lewis and the entire Lewis clan to say, you know what? Gone. And we're going to bring in a director of football that has a history of building Premier League winners and Champions League winners. We're going to bring in a head coach that is going to work well with them. And what would end up happening is it would force players off the roster because they would have to move, right? So we would actually end up cleaning house. We would end up cleaning house of all these players that you just eloquently said that they're too soft. Nice guys, they're too soft for whatever reason, and we would actually end up having to force to play the youth, which is the Will Lancashires and the Mason Melias, the Yang Min Hooks, the Mikey Moores, the Jamie Donnellys, the Alfie Devines. The Luka Vuskoviches, the Kota Takais. And what's interesting about this is and I know this might actually be I guess you could say a triggering statement is, I think our youth is so good that they would actually get promotion their first time out.
Do you know
they
what?
Would come right back up. They would go right back up.
I agree with you. I think they would, but the problem is, and Rain has said this to me as well, and he said it on other shows, and we've had conversations off screen me about our youth policy. We're ruining our younger players because we keep sending them out on loan time again and again and again, instead of blundering them into the first team. Look, if you're not going to spend money on the world-class players or decent players to get them into the football club, then use your youth. But we can't use our youth because they keep loaning them out all the time. The managers don't take the courage to say, right, I'm going to bud in 3 or 4 youth players into this team, right? You've got Mikey Moore, who's at Rangers. God bless him for being at Rangers. Being a Celtic fan, I wanted him to go to Celtic, but hey, so get him out of that mess of a club. Bring him back and use him. There's our left wing sorted. Yeah. Mikey Moore on the left. That's that dealt with. You've got
Yang Min Hook on the right.
Yeah, Hook on the right. You've got Vadovic as well, who's on loan in Germany, Hamburg, who's now going to stay on loan for next season as well. Bring him in.
But you would have a midfield 3 of Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, and Jamie Donnelly. You know what I mean? And it's like for the championship. For the championship, you have a midfield engine of those 3, and it's like that's the thing. It's like I look at our youth, and it's like, and then of course you have the academy guys like Byfield and Luca. Was it Lucas Barnett Williams? We actually have some very good youth. Now, granted, Carl Slim Glue, aka Audio Artisan, says, like, I feel like we would get bullied in the championship. The best players would leave, and we would really be left with the kids. It would take us years for us to get promoted. And I gotta be honest with you. It's like I completely disagree. And when you look at the fact that Yang is already in the championship, you already have Archie Gray that's already succeeded in the championship. What's his name? Mikey Moore is playing in the Scottish Prem. It's like they're getting valuable first team minutes. I don't think that we would struggle to score goals in the championship. And if we actually have the right coach, if we actually paired these youth with the right coach, the very right coach, i.e., maybe even a Pochettino.
But there's your answer.
To really reset the foundation of the championship and bring it right back up. And then from there, you can actually build on the foundation that was set with, like, listen, here's the thing. It's like, would I be absolutely heartbroken if this team got relegated? Absolutely. And I think you would too. I think most of Spurs Nation would absolutely be out with pitchforks. 100%. But again, that would tell you everything that you know about the Lewis family. The reality is there's a lot of people that have these notions about the Lewis family, and a lot of them are correct. But that being said, faced with a relegation, faced with the fact that you're not going to have all that TV money, and you're going to be relying on a balloon payment, and you're relying on championship money, the reality is it would tell us everything that we need to know about this ownership group.
And it's like Matt Law has put out today that on Tottenham Tears. I don't know how true this is. Probably is true, but I'm waiting for confirmation from it. But it says Tottenham want to give Thomas Frank time to turn things around. His job is not believed to be in immediate danger. Decisions made by Johan Lang and Vin. Please tell me, we know Johan Lang is a Danish person as well, so he's going to back up his mate. He was the one who bought Thomas Frank to Tottenham. Vinay has got a reputation of backing managers. What we need now is decisive leadership from within the club. Somebody to take the club by the horns and say, right, this is what we're going to do. This is the road we're going down. The problem is, we keep backing Thomas Frank. Yep. We've already written off this season. So what is the harm is right. Get a couple. Look, Thomas Frank's not the man. Let's put an interim in charge. Let's get a bit of a new manager bounce. Let's get, say, probably, what would you say this year? 45 points is enough to stay off, Steve? Would you reckon that's a safety point? 40, 45 points?
Yeah, between 40 and 45. I think that would be enough to keep us above the drop, but it would still keep us in that 15th to 17th range. But what I will say is that, so let me ask you this question, because I actually put this out there yesterday, and I think Jack poo-pooed it a little bit. And I said, listen, this is my train of thought when it comes to it. There was a reason why they brought in Justin Heitinga. And yes, it was to help Thomas Frank and aid him when it comes to the attack. But that being said, I think he was a former manager at Ajax. He worked under Arne Slot at Liverpool. It's not like he has. It's not like he doesn't. He's never been in the big chair before.
Yeah.
I said that I have a feeling that Thomas Frank is probably going to be in charge until the end of February, after we get through this juggernaut of both Manchester clubs, Newcastle and Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then at that point, Heights again will have a month with the club. You'll have a month to get ingratiated with the players. And I think at that point, even like in a pinch, that at least at that point, it would make sense to let Thomas Frank go and just give Heitinga the rest of the season. That was my theory, but that being said, it's like, Jack was like, well, if that's the case, then, we're definitely going to be in a relegation scrap. And I was like, well, then who? Because if Ryan Mason were still here, it would go to Ryan Mason.
Yeah. This narrative of where we could be in a relegation, but the narrative is we are in a relegation battle.
We are in it.
We've got to face realization. We're 8 points off the bottom tree. We are in a relegation battle. I think what you're saying is true, because we got Frankfurt on Wednesday, then we've got Man City next Sunday, 4. Then we've got Liverpool, then we've got Newcastle, then we've got Arsenal, the North London derby. if we don't pick up points in February and
Yep.
we say we lose the next, I don't want us to lose, so please don't shoot me for saying this, but hypothetically, if we lose, say, 3 out of the next 4 games, right? 1 draw and we lose the next 3.
Right.
Thomas Frank will have to go. Because if
Yeah.
you're getting the away fans singing, "We want Frank out," which they were singing yesterday, if we go 1-0 down to Manchester City next weekend, or we lose heavily to Manchester City, which could happen, then I think the pressure on the club has become so much that they have to act. And what we're doing, Steve, and I think this is my narrative now. I don't know, it's a question to you, but I think we're doing exactly the same we did last year under Ange. You know as well as I do, after every game, everyone said, "Is this the game that Thomas Frank gets,
Yeah.
at Postecoglou gets the sack?" It says, and I put up an X about it. And that my final words on that, what I put up an X was, Tottenham board either need to back him or sack him.
That's it.
There's no in between. You either back him with the players that he thinks he needs, spend the money, and see if you can turn it around. If you don't want to spend money in them, then sack him, and then bring in
Right.
the hurting
interim.
the
Yeah.
interim with the Ajax manager. And
Yeah.
I think that's where it will go. I agree with you on that train of thought. Will it come before the end of February? Probably not. I think it might come sooner than that. But it's very interesting, isn't it, Steve, that Tottenham have gone very quiet in the window. And
I think they're going to wait until after the window. Personally,
I think so. I think
yeah,
so.
I think they're going to try to get at least one more through the door and keep Thomas Frank in there, because that's going to be a hard sell to bring anybody in if they sack off the manager. You know what I mean, at that stage. But yeah, like me personally, like if they fail on the road at Frankfurt, that's going to be a hard sell for the board. And by the way, after Frankfurt, you're absolutely right. We have Man City on February 1st. Then we travel to Old Trafford on February 7th. Home against Newcastle, home against Arsenal before we go to Craven Cottage on March 1st. And then we have Crystal Palace on March 5th. And it's like, even then, it's like you would think that the schedule kind of eases up a little bit, but we've already sacked off a match against Fulham already. And Crystal Palace, like, we were lucky to get out of Selhurst Park with that 3 points.
Wow.
But what I will say is that, go ahead.
I'm going to that game again. I went to the Palace game last year. I'm actually going to the game this year as well. I'm over in England at that point. So I decided I'm Mrs. Tron's family. So I decided to grab in a Spurs game while I was in the country. But
yes,
I think by the time I get to that game and I'm going to the Leeds game as well, if Tottenham have a bad February that we don't win every game and West Ham pick up 2 wins and Burnley start picking up points, and we start dropping down the table, I don't know how I would feel. I'm still naive to think we're too big to go down, but I think February's a telling month. This is the month either we're going to stay up or we could be really dragged into a last day of the last game of the season, a win to stay up. I went through this once before, Steve, under the first season of Aussie back in 93, 94. Where we went to Oldham and won at Oldham in the second last game of the season to stay in the Premier League. And I never thought we would see this again. Do you know what? There's been such a tail off. And then I blame it on the Lewis family and also blame it on succession of managers. And I know this is going to be an unpopular decision, Steve. I would have kept Ange Postecoglou. The question to you, would you have kept Ange for season 3? Because I don't think we would have been in this position under Ange Postecoglou.
It's hard to say, but when you look at Ange's tenure, it's like, listen, he in his first season, he finished 5th and gave us European play again. Yeah. From that standpoint, yes, I know that second half of his first season wasn't, we didn't necessarily finish all that great. I understand that.
No.
And then last year, it was rocky to start the season before the injuries came in, and then it was what it was.
Yeah.
But that being said, it ended with a trophy. And from that standpoint, he never, like me personally, as much of a lightning rod as he was, me personally, like he achieved the objective that he set out to do. I think in his introductory press conference, he said that you're going to get European play and win trophies.
Yeah.
Well, check. Well, here's the thing, right? Me personally, the question is whether or not he was going to be backed. Right? You wonder if he was going to be back this last summer. Right? You just never know how those things are going to play out. But me personally, I think he achieved the objectives, and whether or not we'd be in the same position, it's really hard to say. But what I will, it's really hard to say. But what I will say is that I just look at Thomas Frank as an untenable situation, and it feels like he number one had no idea what it was going to be like to step into this seat, understanding that we've sacked off two very good managers after Pochettino. And then sacked off two other guys that may or may not might have been ready for the opportunity. And so from that standpoint, I don't think he understood exactly what he was getting into. That's the first thing. No. And also the second thing is like he didn't have plan B, C, and D ready in case certain things happen. And now he's under the gun. But the difference between him and Ange Postecoglou, it feels like the media is actually trying to protect Thomas Frank, because he's a nice guy and he gives access. And it feels like the funny thing is, like, if you're looking at the numbers, it's like, yeah, Thomas Frank is actually doing worse than what Ange Postecoglou did.
Yeah.
But there's not the same media outcry.
No. If this was any other manager, there would be. I mean, I'm just looking at the table, Steve. We're only 7 points of West Ham. Forest, Leeds are on 25.
Yep.
And then you got Crystal Palace, you got us, and Bournemouth are on 30. So Bournemouth already got a 2-point gap. The only saving grace for us is we've got a better goal difference than the teams below us. Palace on -4,
right.
Leeds are on -7, Forest on -11, and West Ham are on -18. But look, if Leeds win tomorrow, if Leeds win tomorrow, they'll be on the same points as us. These games are so critical for our season. And also, if you look at I found this stat, which I found it really remarkable. Last season was our worst points haul after 22 games. This season is the second worst points haul after 22 games. Ange's first season after 22 games, we're on 47 points. After in his first season. In the last 10 years, between 2016 to 2026, this is, as I said last season, this is at the top as the second worst and worst 22 games points haul. We've been on a steady decline ever since when Poch left.
And the interesting thing is how many points have we sacked off from a winning position this year?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That to me is absolutely unforgivable. But we're on a +2 goal differential.
Yeah, it's quite surprising.
Absolutely shambolic, unbelievable. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Leeds and Nottingham Forest are only 3 points off of us. And of course, West Ham is 5 points, 5 points off of us. And when I'm looking at these next 4, it's hard. It's really hard for me to see exactly. Like maybe at Manchester United, maybe. You know what I mean? Like that's about as far. That's about as far as I think I can go, because quite honestly, I don't think we're going to beat City, and I don't think we're going to beat Newcastle or Arsenal. So it's like in that 4, you're kind of like, where is their potential for points? Maybe United. And it just depends, because now all of a sudden Michael Carrick has come in, and that team looks 100% different than it did.
Yeah.
Now who knows exactly how United's going to finish, but that being said, it's like they look remarkably better. Yeah. And that's that is the thing when you're turning to an interim coach. It all depends on the right interim coach that understands, hey, here's our players, here's our strengths, so we're just going to play to that. And chances are pretty good we're going to find points somewhere.
I mean, I run in at the last game of the season in May, is Leeds at home, Chelsea away, Everton at home, and then we finish at Everton at home. That's the last game of the season. You look at May. May's hard enough. We've got Villa away, Leeds at home, Chelsea away, and then we've got Everton home last game of the season. You go to April, and you've got Sunderland away, Brighton at home, Wolves away. I mean, wherever you look at it, if we're stuck in a relegation battle and we're getting to May that we need points, are we going to get points of Villa, who are chasing Champions League? Leeds coming to our place, are we going to get anything there? Hopefully, because that's another game I'm going to. And then Chelsea, we never win at Chelsea. We haven't won at Chelsea. And so the run in is as tough as we got in February.
Well, the way that I look at it, starting March 1st, there's Fulham, Palace, Forest, Sunderland, Wolves, Brighton, Leeds, Everton. That to me is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, possibly 22 points out there that are actually gettable for us. 22 points, which I believe. Let me what are we currently on? 25. That would put us at 45 points. That probably like 28. So the way that I look at it is like there are points out there for us to get.
Yeah, there are.
But and what's interesting is like I actually think we have the players in order to pull that off. I guess the question that I have for you is, and I don't know, maybe you feel this way, but I certainly do feel this way. Yes, last year it was obvious that we sacked off the Premier League in search for a European trophy.
Yeah, definitely.
And I get the impression that the players are doing it again. Like, I think they've looked at the standings and understand that they have nothing to fight for, nothing to play for. If they do just enough, they're going to stay above the line. But it feels like every single time that we step on European into a European night, the team looks far and away better. And I feel like this is what's happening again.
I look, I can understand you having that sort of train of thought, and you're probably right, Steve. But on another point as well is I feel the Champions League is more open, so the players have a better chance of expressing themselves. There's the Premier League, we know, is tough, fast, hard. The Premier League is more nice and sequel and not. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit of, we can relax a little bit. I don't think these players like pressure, and I think this is the problem. And I think you're right. I think mentally and the mentality, they're saying, right, we're not good. They're taking the same mentality as they did last season. We're going to suck off the league. Well, did they not realize your bread and butter is the league? This is where you earn your majority of your money. This is where clubs, the higher you finish, the more money you get from the Premier League. And also, we've now got to realize we'll have no European football next season unless we're going on some mighty run that we get Conference League. We're not even going to get that. So
you know what's interesting? But from that standpoint, the mentality, though, the players' mentality are looking at it like they're still in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They still have a trophy out there that's still very much gettable to their mindset. And when you kind of look at some of these players, they're like, there's no, like, we were able to do it last year. There's no reason why we can't go out and do it this year. And from that standpoint, it just like, it feels like their heart is in the Champions League and not so much in the Premier League. That's the impression that I get.
Yeah. And you look at how many fans in the Premier that travel with the Premier League, Steve, home and away, especially the away fans in the Premier League. And you're going there to paying your hard-earned money to support, say, a lot of people took them 5 hours to get from London to Burnley yesterday. And you're seeing a Tottenham team put in a performance that, but you're seeing them on Frankfurt on Wednesday. They're putting a worldly performance. You'd be pretty peed off that you've spent nearly close to what? 200-300 euro. You're going you're going to see Arsenal. You've already said how much it's costing you. You know, and you're going over there. You want a team to go out there, give it all in the North London derby, give it 110%, beat Arsenal. And I feel sorry for you fans because you're the ones that spending, and the people that do go. And the away fans yesterday, they deserve so much better than what they're getting. And players should not be sacking off the league just because of Champions League. We ain't going to win the Champions League. I hate saying that.
Well, not with that attitude, Derma.
No, I think
attitude or that. No, I know.
You know me well enough now, Steve. I'm delusional enough as it is, but I think Bayern Munich might win the Champions League this year. But I just wonder. I just wonder if we beat Frankfurt and we get into the round of 16 and we get sort of an easy tie and we get to the quarterfinal point. When does Tottenham say, okay, we're going to go down your logic of we're going to bin off the league and we're putting it all in the Champions League? Or do you think they've already done that? I think by your logic, you think they've already made that decision.
Yeah, I mean, because there's no inexplicable reason why we lose to West Ham at home, lose to Bournemouth on the road, lose to West Ham at home, nearly lose to Burnley, draw at home against Wolves, lose to Bournemouth the first time around, and it's like inexplicably we just sack off points, and it's like now to the point where. It was weird because at the start of November, we were like in third.
Yeah.
I think we were on 17, 18 points and we were at third.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about it is coming into this season, I think I said like the first 2.5 months are going to be absolutely essential to get as many points as you possibly can to at least pad yourself, because beginning in November, that's when the gauntlet started, because at least you actually have something to, you have something to sit back on and you're not going to be scratching for points. But that being said, it just came off the rails so quickly to the point where we just started dropping. We were not able to recover. Injuries set in, and now all of a sudden we are where we're at. And I think the players are looking at this like, as long as we're not going down, we're good with that because we still have the Champions League. We still have something to fight for. Last year they did it, and they were able to pull it off. But this year, it's like I think you and I are both in agreement that that's going to be a tall order with this crew. But that being said, it's like I look at the players and I'm like, there are starters for very good high level national teams on this squad where it's like, depending on the formation in which we play, I wouldn't necessarily rule it out, but I think the probabilities are incredibly low. By the way, I do have to tell this to you, Derma. Right now, in the 57th minute, Manchester United is leading Arsenal 2-1. Yes. Lisandro Martinez had an own goal in the 29th minute.
Yeah.
But in the 37th minute, Brian Mbemo scored. And then Patrick Dorgo scored in the 50th minute. And as we speak, Manchester United are currently leading the Gunners 2-1. Let me ask you, Derma, do they hold it on? Do they hold on to this one?
I went in quickly into Column's channel. He's doing the watch along. I said United are going to win 3-1. And everyone in the chat said, you're mental. They're only one goal away from beating Arsenal 3-1. So I think so. I think United. And this is the point, isn't it? And I think I think this is a good segment on moving it on a little bit, Steve. But you look how Man United sorted out their management problems. They got rid of Amarin. They bought in one Fletcher, I think it was, for one game in charge, and then they bring in Carrick for the rest of the season. You look how Manchester United are doing now. They beat City, dominated City, by the way, and should have won by more. They're winning at Arsenal. Do you know, Amarin had them up there in 5th place, 6th place in the league. They're fighting for a Champions League spot. So I think if the Tottenham owners want to know what they should do, then look at Manchester United, what they've done. A lot of them don't like their owners, and I understand why, and I get it. But when it came to a tough decision, they made it. Tottenham don't like making tough decisions. I've always had this attitude that Tottenham's motto isn't now to dare is to do. Their motto is that will do. That's okay. That can be fine. We won't go down.
That'll do.
We won't. We're 5 points off relegation. We were lucky last season because the 3 teams below us were a load of crap who couldn't get a win between us. West Ham are going to be fighting for their tooth and nail for their Premier League survival. Burnley may go down, but West Ham, and you bet Leeds will be fighting. Big up, Wayno. Leeds will be fighting. You guarantee all the teams on below us will be fighting. And I tell you one thing now, Steve, I have no confidence in this squad to keep us up in the relegation battle. The only reason we will stay up is because the team below us will lose games. But I'm telling you now, you want a relegation battle, is the likes of Gallagher going to give
You
it to you?
got one. Yeah, you want a relegation battle. You got one, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Romero's going to give you a fight. Give him that. Van der Ven will. Jed Spence might do. And yes, and also, yes, Frank has had it hard with no Madison, no Kulu, and players like that out.
But he's got now Conor Gallagher. He's got Xavi.
Yeah,
who will fight too.
You build a squad, don't you? You build a squad to help you in this situation, and we're not. And as hard as it's going to say, I think this will help the younger players in the long run. I think with what we're going through, but I don't think we've got the place to keep us up. If the bottom teams keep fighting and gaining points in us, and we keep dropping points, Tottenham would then say, "Oh, we're better sack Frank." Well, maybe it's too late then to sack Frank. Now is the time to sack Frank. Now is the time to do it, because if you don't do it now and you leave it till after February, then we're going to be further down. We're going to possibly be in the bottom three if things carries on. I cannot get into my head Tottenham Hotspur in the bottom three, 5 points off relegation. Steve, we shouldn't be there.
No,
we're the richest club, one of the richest club in the Premier League, and we've built a squad full of people that don't want to fight for this club. It's ridiculous.
Well, I will give Manchester United credit, because the way that they looked at Ruben Amorim in his 3-4-3 wasn't United football. And I actually think his 3-4-3 could actually work in the Premier League, with the right squad. But one of the things that I will say is they said, listen, we went out there and we spent money for you, and these are the results. I mean, they lost to Grimsby in the Carabao Cup. Shout out to Grimsby. But that's the thing. It's like the results. The results were not there. And then of course he goes out and pops off in the media. But United came out and said, listen, we are so far away from what we are and what our identity as United football is. Going back to the days of Matt Busby and the Busby Babes, and of course that second coming with Bobby Charlton and George Best, and then of course and of course Sir Alex Ferguson in the class of '92, and those wonderful teams of the '90s. They got so far away from it, they just said, pump the brakes. This isn't going to work. And at least they did an about face to bring in somebody that that recognizes what the United way is and are going to play to the principles of the United way. And so from that standpoint, and obviously they're playing well, and so they got it right. And that's the thing. It's like, for me, I'm 100% agree with you. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I've said this on multiple different occasions. I think we are so far away from our identity as a club that, I don't think these people that are running the club understand what our identity is. Like, if they asked, who Bill Nick is, or who Arthur Rowe is, or who Keith Birkinshaw is, or Terry Venables, or Harry Redknapp, or Martin Yole, or Glenn Hoddle, they're going to be like, who? Who are those?
Yeah.
Who are those guys?
Considering that we manage the football club as well, which is kind of more worrying.
Yeah,
like a Glenn Hoddle. I mean, you know as well as I do, history is important to me, Steve. Spurs history is important to me, and I just feel we don't have an identity. I mean, I was lucky enough to live through a Tottenham side, and Wayne was as well, back in the early '80s when we were successful on the Birkinshaw. And when we went to Terry Venables, we won a trophy in every decade from 1950-51, from 49-50 when we won the second division championship, all the way to 2008. We won a trophy in every decade. We won more than one in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. The 90s we won two. The 2000s, yes. Not great, but two trophies in the two if you count Europa League and the League Cup. But
the 2000s between 2000 and 2009, and then the 2010s.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Sorry, yeah. I know what you get. Sorry, I read that wrong. Sorry, I apologize.
I got you.
But our identity is push and run. That's the Tottenham way. And somebody said to me the other day, "What is the Tottenham way, Dermot?" I said, "It's push and run." However, that evolves over the years in football, it does. You saw Arthur Rowe did it. Bill Nigden involved it into his style. Keith Berkershaw did it in his style. There was a venture of Terry Venables in his style with the 90s, 80s squad, late 80s, early 90s. Pochettino had that push and run side when he was in charge.
Harry Redknapp as well, too.
Yeah, Harry Redknapp as well. And if you look at the Poch side, all young players, Dele Alli, Jan, Toby, Kyle Walker, Ericsson, Danny Rose, Hugo Lloris, Ericsson, a young Harry Kane, a young Sonny.
Yep.
And you look at that squad and how that was put together. That's how a squad should be put together. He was given time to build that squad, to fulfill what that potential of that squad. Yes, we didn't win a trophy. And I think that's the biggest criminal charges you could put against Pochettino. He didn't win anything. We had our chances.
Our points haul was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, we're fighting for leagues. We were fighting for cups. We got to a Champions League final.
White Hart Lane was an absolute fortress. Nobody came to White Hart Lane and batter us and bully us around. And that's the thing. It's like Wayne Bonner says, this club couldn't build a Lego model, let alone a team or a squad. Carl Slim Blue asks, any thoughts on Dane coming on and no Randall Colomwani? He hasn't seen any reports of Dane leaving this January. Any thoughts?
He's not leaving. No, he's not leaving. He's staying at Tottenham. I was very surprised at that yesterday, Steve, when he didn't bring on Morani for Solanke. I think that was a decision that had to be. Solanke was blowing after an hour. But this is a manager that doesn't make his substitutions correctly. And we get back to Ange about that last season or the season before. But we're not giving out about Thomas Frank doing it. And again, he's looking at his bench. All right, I've got 3 kids. I've got a loanee. And I've got a couple of good players on the bench. That's, again, the board not backing him. This all comes from the summer when we didn't back him, didn't spend properly in summer because, for every reason, the infighting or whatever. We'd let him down like Enoch have let every other manager down in 25 years of owning the club. And I've always said it. Give me White Hart Lane and a championship winning side any day instead of this stadium and the load of crap we've been watching.
I'll say this, Dermot. Number one, Randall Colomwani's loan is not going to get terminated. He will be here till the end of the season, but we're not going to pick it up. Yeah, we're not going to, because of our squad numbers. We're not going to let him unless we bring in a left winger that will allow Matisse Tell to move back to striker.
Yeah.
Then there's that, and then you can consider it. But as of things are going right now, it doesn't look like we're going to get a forward player in through the door. And so from that standpoint, unfortunately, Matisse Tell is going to have to continue to play on the left, and Randall Colomwani is still going to be on the team. But I think what's interesting about it is, and again, it's this Thomas Frank thing again, where he didn't get off to a good start.
No.
And the interesting thing was then Richarlison got hot. And so Richarlison was starting every single week, pretty much, with the exception of a few Champions League matches. Randall Colomwani couldn't get in. And then when he did get in, he was playing on the left. And of course, just like Timo Werner before him, he's not a winger. He's not a winger. No. He's a striker. And he's never had extensive time on the wing. And so from that standpoint, it's like the moon to him.
Yeah, I agree.
And so when he got in, he was uncomfortable playing on a position where, he doesn't play. And of course his form never caught form. And so when he did come in, he looked absolutely terrible, to a point where Thomas Frank is like, I can't use him because he's not in form and he's not playing well, so I'm going to play Dane because at least he's training hard. And it's like, well, yeah, but this is the problem with Thomas Frank is he never gave Kolo Muani enough time to round into form as a striker to the point where he became absolutely useless. So from that standpoint, it's like the funny thing is Randall Kolo Muani has scored goals everywhere that he's been. Everywhere that he's been, he scored goals, whether it's Germany, France, or Italy. That dude is legit goal scorer. And by the way, next year, wherever he's going to land, he's going to score goals again.
Yeah, and there's another thing as well. We need a striker, right? If you're not going to lose Morani, then why not go and get Vlahovic? 6 months left in his contract. Look, what's it going to cost? 50 million euro? And even if you say to Milan, look, we're going on loan with an obligation to buy, and then we'll give you whatever at the end of the season. Tottenham don't think ahead. When Tottenham build a squad, they build it.
They're reacting.
Instead of being reaction and being on the ball and saying this is what we need to do, they're not doing anything. Paratici, you said it earlier, he's going to Fiorentina. He doesn't give a toss what Tottenham do in this transfer window. Why he's busy sorting out Fiorentina. Johan Lang couldn't organise a drink up in a brothel. He couldn't even organise that properly. You've got board members like Vinay and Charlie and Viv. Don't care. No, the only people that care about the club is us, the fans. We care.
Correct.
But the owners don't. We need new owners. We need a fresh start. And however that does come about, it's got to come about soon because we cannot keep going through like this, Steve. Every season's the same. Every window, we do enough. We do enough. And this is why it's so important, I think, to get behind change for Tottenham. And this is why, and I spoke to Billy did last week, and the lad that is behind change for Tottenham, and we needed to become a Manchester United style protest. You look the Glazers out protest, Steve. There's thousands there. We have to unite as a fan base to tell these owners this is not acceptable. This is not.
You have to be willing to not show up for home games, and that stadium, you would be willing to have to let that stadium be damn near virtually empty for them to send a message. And I think you're right. Wayne Bonner here says White Hart Lane was superb. The new stadium, not so much. Looks nice inside, but lacks character and personality. And I will tell you that the biggest reason is because we don't have anybody that sets expectations at home. Where it is, listen, under no circumstances are you going to lose. And if there's mistakes and if you shut off, I'm going to bench you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play somebody else until you get the message that under no circumstances are we to lose at home.
No.
You know what I mean? There are certain lines in the sand that you draw. And I guarantee you that if this team was committed to turning the stadium into a fortress, we would see matches like we saw against Arsenal at that one. When we beat Arsenal there, you would see those type of electric crowds again. I 100% believe that, and the reason why we don't see it now is because we don't have anybody that requires it.
No, I agree. I honestly agree with that. And look, I've been to White Hart Lane so many times I can count one hand, and I miss the old girl. I really do. I miss White Hart Lane because for me, you walked into White Hart Lane. You felt the spirit of Bill Nick. You felt the spirit of Tottenham Hotspur. I don't feel that spirit in the new stadium. Now, go in there first time, Steve, you're going to go, wow. You're going to walk up them steps, look at the picture, go, wow.
A month away.
Yeah, but that quickly wears off what you're seeing on the pitch. And I do you know what? 44 years I've been following this football club. The 90s. Players in the 90s, and how crap they were, believe me, there were some bizarre games in the 90s seasons, but the players cared. The players gave their all for the badge and for us fans. Today's players don't care. You look at Liverpool going through what they're going through this year. There's another manager I think Steve could be getting the sack very soon, Arne Slot.
Potentially.
So you look at, and I think also let me ask you this question on the manager front, Steve. Do you think Tottenham's thinking is we'll give it to the World Cup when the World Cup is over, then we can have our pick of managers?
I would think so. I would think so.
Or do you be like Manchester United, take the ball by the horns and say, right, we're going to get a manager in now, and then we try to get Poch back in the summer? If you what would you prefer Tottenham to do? Keep Frank into the end of the season, or do what Man United did? Sorry about that.
No, as a matter of fact, because if we keep Frank in the rest of the season, this is what we're going to see. We're going to see the exact same game, the exact same game management week in and week out. Yes, we might win some games, and we might stay above the line, but then again, we might not. And I'll say this: that come the summer, there are going to be far better managers that are far more qualified to come in and turn Tottenham around. But until then, bring in a caretaker that is for the club, that knows exactly what the club is and what their history is, and what the identity of Tottenham Hotspur is, whether that's Glenn Hoddle, whether that's Harry Redknapp, or what, I still don't think Robbie Keane's going to leave Ferris to take a 4-month job, but you get what I'm saying. It's like,
I do get what you're saying, yeah.
I still think that for a 4-month job, bringing in a guy like Harry Redknapp makes sense. He wants to do it. He said that he wants to do it. And for 4 months, with the objective of just climbing the table to at least avoid relegation and getting themselves anywhere between 8th and 12th, yeah, I think he could do it. He's a man manager. He's going to put players in the right position to succeed. And quite honestly, I think the players would respond.
I agree. And you look at Ange, like whatever you think of Ange Postecoglou, the players would have run through a brick wall for that man.
Yeah, but he also he understood the club, and he understood the history, and he understood the badge, and he actually tried to play to the badge.
Yeah, and I get that. And you look at Thomas Frank when you look at what gets me, right, Steve, and you go back to the very start when Ange was appointed or when Frank was appointed. Ange, history, Bill Nick, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it the Tottenham way. I think he did it the Tottenham way a bit too much, but he did it, to his own detriment. I think he did sack himself, but that's beside the point. Thomas Frank's first interview. Well, we are going to lose games.
Yeah,
we are, and
that's so
we're
great.
only. I know we're only in the Champions League because we won a trophy. And then I watched his press conference the other day, Steve, and it was, what was he saying?
It's ridiculous.
Last night I watched his post conference for the Burnley game. We were dominant, and I'm looking at thinking, yeah, you go and buy the stats. If you look at stats, if you look at the stats and you didn't watch the game, you would have thought Burnley were lucky to get a point. Tottenham would dominate. It's the eye test. It's what we watch. And you, me, Steve, we do our watch-alongs, home and away. We follow these teams all around the world. And at any times for you, I mean, I tip my hat off for you, bud. Getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to cover this football.
I don't like my intelligence insulted. When Thomas Frank says something like that, where we dominated, it's like, dude, my eyes saw something completely different.
Yeah. I mean, you are going to have a laugh when I got to cover the World Cup at 1 or 2 in the morning, and it's 7 o'clock for you. So you're going to get told you what it's like. But yeah, I don't know, Steve. It's mind-boggling for me. It's mind-boggling. But look, I just want the season to end, and I hate saying it. I think you too as well. I think you've got that. You and me. We went through 18 months of a roller coaster, and we're still on that roller coaster. I love my club.
I do too.
I'm broken. We're broken, and I think that's the thing of it. At the end of the day, we're broken.
You know what's crazy is I'm from the city of Seattle, and of course I grew up absolutely loving and idolizing my baseball team in that city. But when that ownership group stepped in and got their new stadium built, they went 22 years without a playoff appearance. 22 years of mismanagement, 22 years of bad a bad manager hires, 22 years of not spending money. And, the interesting thing is like right at the end there, I had to take a few years off because I just couldn't do it anymore. I could not emotionally invest anymore. And that's my biggest issue with Spurs is like it's ran the exact same way. And it's like I don't want to be in a position where I actually have to take a few seasons off because I can't watch this anymore. That's my biggest fear. And I don't like doing it. I don't like being negative, and I don't like fear, and I don't like talking about somebody's livelihood being at jeopardy. But the reality is, it's like when you get hired as a director of football or you get hired as a manager, you are being hired to get fired. Eventually, you are being hired to get fired. It is the world of football, and the reality is this isn't football of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where you can actually give a manager 5 years, because we compete in the Premier League, the best league in the world, where results matter. Where you have to come in swinging. You have to come in getting results off. Like from the off, you have to be able to do that. And it's one of the things that I appreciated about Arne Slot, because he doesn't he didn't play Jurgen Klopp football. He's kind of from that Luis Enrique total football tiki-taka style, style that most managers play today, invented by essentially invented by Pep Guardiola. It wasn't, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the reality is, a lot of these coaches feel like they have to play it. And Arne Slot came in and kept the system from Jurgen Klopp for 1 year because the players were set up for it. He made just a few subtle changes, and they go out and win the Premier League. And it gave him enough credibility to be able to switch the style to play his style of football.
Yeah.
And yes, they went through some growing pain. They went through some growing pains, but now Liverpool is probably going to finish in the top 4 this year. And it's like, it's not a Premier League, but that being said, it's like for a club that struggled to adapt to a new system, they're still good enough to finish in the top 4. And there's probably going to be changes this offseason, and they're going to be bringing players that are going to be a lot more conducive to play that style of football. And Thomas Frank, this is where he I hate to swear, but this is where he messed up. Coming into this one, he misjudged the talent. You look at the talent, you look at the talent that we had, and you looked at the way that they played. They are more conducive to be a little bit more direct than they are to be playing side to side, backwards football. And this team didn't adjust. This team didn't adjust. And it's like, if he would have came in and kept the tactics simple and gotten results, that, he could have, by this time, he could have started introducing wrinkles of what he wants to do. And so by the time the season ends, we at least have anywhere between 6th and 8th. We go into the summer, and everybody understands that next year we're going to be playing this style of football, and the transfer window is going to be geared towards that. And so that's, there's ways of introducing it. But the one thing that you absolutely need from your fan base is trust and credibility. And he just doesn't have it.
No, he doesn't.
And he just doesn't have it. That's where his mistake came in, because he just decided that this is what he wants to do. And he misjudged the talent. They weren't capable of doing it because they're not that type of team. This is a team that was geared to play essentially heavy metal Ange football, and not this slow it down side to side backwards type of football. But Derma, we are at a minute. We're at an hour and 10, so we're going to close this one off. I do want to ask you one question from the weekend in the Premier League or the Championship, whatever league. Was there a game that jumped out from you this weekend? Was there something where you're like, oh,
yeah, there was. I'm going through it. Sorry, I did have the results up from this weekend, and I just need to get back up. There was a couple of games that really spoke out to me. I think the first one is the West Ham win over Sunderland. I think that's good because Nuno had to back up that win against Tottenham with a win against Sunderland. I think that was a good result. That was one that stood out. And another one that stood out for me again was actually Bournemouth versus Liverpool.
That was a
And
great one.
where I think Arnie Slot is the next manager to go. I think so. I think it's him and Frank. But Liverpool are having a dreadful season. And so they're the two games. The games today, of course, Forest beat Brentford, Chelsea beat Palace, which we thought was going to be. We thought that would happen anyway. But the one that has shocked me is now 2-2 between Arsenal and Man United, by the way. So it is a draw. It is drawing at the moment. But for me, it's Aston Villa beating Newcastle at home. 3 games this weekend, I think, is a big one. What about you, Steve? Where was your sort of game of the weekend?
You know what's fun? I would love to be in Liverpool's situation where a dreadful season is being in 6th place halfway through the season. I would love to be in. I would love to have Liverpool's problems, but
I think we'd all pay money for that.
Well, here's the thing. It's like that was a very good win for Bournemouth because it actually pushed them to 30 points. Sunderland's at 33, and that was actually kind of a misstep, but Sunderland will stay up. Leeds potentially has the wherewithal to stay up as well too. But
yeah,
you mentioned West Ham. That was a big win for them. And the fact that Sunderland is kind of going through a little bit of a hiccup right now. They have lost 2 out of their last 3. They had 2 draws prior to that, so they're kind of going through a little bit of a dip in form. But that being said, Sunderland has had a very good season and they'll stay up. I'm going to go down to the championship.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm going to go down to the championship because there was a very good match. I believe it was yesterday, as Wrexham beats QPR, and they beat them 3-2. And of course, it was Ollie Rathbone in the 90+5, as QPR actually has Mbenge gets sent off in the 90th. 5 minutes later, Ollie Rathbone hits an absolute screamer, and that was the winner in the 90+5. And because of it, Wrexham now pulls themselves into 6th place. So now they're in a playoff spot. In the championship, they are what are they? They're 6 points off a 3rd, which is Ipswich. Ipswich and Hull City, and congratulations to Hull City. I didn't see that one coming this year. And they're now currently 11 points off of Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough, by the way, has won 4 in a row. Coventry is kind of going into a lull. They were in a lull a little bit, as they're only 3 points above Middlesbrough. But that being said, Wrexham, a team that I think a lot of people who thought that maybe this division might been a little bit too much for them, coming up off of 3 promotions, and I think a lot of people were thinking that Wrexham were just going to try to consolidate in the championship, get their feet wet for this season, and then gear up for a promotion to the Premier League next year. Now, all of a sudden, after a shaky start to their season, all of a sudden Wrexham has caught absolute fire right now. They've essentially been unbeaten in 4 of their last 5, and now all of a sudden sitting on 44 points. And there's a good conversation to have that Wrexham are going to be in a position to potentially go up again, and that would be something special if Wrexham end up winning promotion next year to the Premier League. But congratulations to Phil Parkinson and the job that he's done at Wrexham. That was absolutely he's done an absolute brilliant coaching job with Wrexham, and it looks like I think what did United just take the lead?
Yeah, United are now winning 3-2. Sorry for the celebration.
Let's go United. But yeah, I thought that was a very good victory yesterday for Wrexham in the championship.
I did too. I really did too. I like Wrexham. I like how Wrexham are run. I like the way that they go about things. And also, if you look at Birmingham as well, being run by Tom Brady, ex-NFL super legend. I do you know what? I like that, and I like watching the teams below coming up. I think the championship's one of the hardest leagues in the world to come out of. Do you know? I just like it, but come on, United, 3 points. I don't know, Steve. Go on, bud.
I was going to ask you really quickly, How do you feel about Hearts at the top of the Scottish Prem, sitting on 51 points, unbeaten in their last 4? Rangers are only 4 points. Rangers are 4 points out, and they've actually, I think they've won 5 in a row now.
Yeah,
Rangers are what 4 points below, and Celtic are 6 points below. I'm just curious about how you feel about the top of the Scottish Prem, real quick. Like, do you think
I'm
Hearts
over
can
the
pull
moon.
it out?
Yeah, I think they can. I think they can. I'm over the moon. It's what the Scottish League's needed. It's needed something different to spice it up a bit. Look, I'm disappointed in Celtic season. Yes, we should have stopped with Martin O'Neill and not gone to Nancy, but no disrespect to Nancy. Maybe the job is too big for him. Different culture.
I don't think
different way of playing.
The same thing with Nancy. The same thing with Nancy is the same thing with Thomas Frank. It's the same thing that happened to Ange at Forest as well too. It's like yes, you can come in and play your style, but again, results matter. You have to be able to get results. So if you have to simplify tactics, then do it. And I think Wilfred Nancy's a hell of a coach, and I think he's earned the right to do that. But the problem is he came in and tried to do too much too early,
too soon. And I also think the players were so in the groove with Martin O'Neill that it was that when the new manager came in, it was like, hang on, this ain't work. And then you watch his bizarre press conference where I agreed with what he said. What were you saying? I just feel that Celtic should have stuck with Martin O'Neill, but Hearts all day long. I love Hearts. I'm a mad Celtic fan. I want Hearts to win the league. It's going to make the Scottish League better. I think it makes it a bit healthier. B is going to bring a lot more people to watch the Scottish League because everyone's saying, hang on a minute, who are Hearts? Who are they?
And here's the thing, man. There has to be a breakup of the duopoly at the top of that league, right? It's like the old Burton teams have always dominated. And the thing about it is there hasn't been a Scottish winner, a Scottish Premier League winner outside of Rangers and Celtics since it was Aberdeen, and then it was Dundee actually won it 1 year in the 80s as well too. Like in the early 80s, Dundee United won it once. But that being said, it's always been dominated by Celtic or Rangers. And it just goes to show you how long it's been. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm happy that Hearts are doing well. I think they built a pretty good team, and I hope they can hold this one off. But Rangers are coming up pretty goddamn quick. That's the thing. It's like I'm kind of a Falkirk. I'm kind of a fan of Falkirk. I don't know. Like I've always kind of been partial to Falkirk, but that's just me. All right, Derma.
I just want Hearts to do well.
Is there? By the way, before I asked you the question about the Scottish Prem, you're about to say something. Is there any last thoughts?
No, not really. Just I really enjoyed the show, and guys, do join us. Hopefully, this will be every Sunday. I think Steve will be doing this every Sunday. So hopefully, you come in, spread Steve's channel around. Let's get him to 500. Let's get him monetized. Let's make his dream a reality. I'm growing. You're making my dream a reality. Let's make Steve's dream a reality so we get him so he can do this full time. I tell you one thing, Steve, right? Doing YouTube full time, becoming a full time creator is a very scary decision to make.
Sure.
But you do get a lot of joy out of it. I know Tottenham are playing shit at the moment, but the joy I get out of it is talking to you and having a laugh with the chat. And
I look at it. Look at it like, right now, over the last couple of years, I've been building up to the promotion that I ended up getting, and so from that standpoint, all that hard work, I'm going to keep at that because that's currently what's keeping the lights on. But that being said, I very much enjoy doing this. And I'm going to continue to do it, even if it's a weekend thing. That it's a weekend thing, I'll continue to build, and it is what it is. To the point where, maybe I can get into a position where I can do things like what you and Dave and Jack do. But until then, I'm going to continue to plug along. Lastly, it looks like G Giant says seeing reports that Spurs are weighing up option of replacing Frank with Xavi Hernandez, and it's going to be interesting to see if Xavi Hernandez or Xabi Alonso would even be interested in taking on this monumental project, especially if what I think is going to happen is I actually think that they're going to hold on to Thomas Frank for as long as they possibly can until they're forced to make a decision. And at that point, I think they're going to wait until the summer. Because me personally, I just think that if you hire Xavi Hernandez, then you're doing it for the long haul. And that means, that means there's no Pochettino in the summer because you're not going to do an about face. So from that standpoint, you really have to sit and think, is this going to be something that you believe that Xavi Hernandez can come in and turn our fortunes around? I don't know, but he's a good coach.
Alonso's going to Liverpool. Xabi Alonso's going to Liverpool. I think that's nailed on. That's where he's heading to. I can't see Xabi Alonso coming to Tottenham. Xavi Hernandez, maybe. That is a big maybe. Look, I wouldn't mind Pochettino coming back. I think Pochettino coming back, A, unites the club. B, I think he's the only manager we would give time to. And C, I think, this is my honest opinion, you bring back a Paul Mitchell back as director of football. You get rid of Lang. You let Paul Mitchell do it. You got the new Man City guy coming in as well, overseeing it all. And you get a Pochettino and you say, right, what do you want, Poch? I want A, B, C, and D. And you do A, B, C, and D. He's the only manager Tottenham fans will give time. I think so. I do believe that.
And to add on to that, we actually need somebody to rebuild the foundation, right? And so if we believe that Pochettino is the guy that the fans would actually give time to, would really give time to and unite him, then that's the guy that you bring in to rebuild the foundation. You can, we can get to a point where we're consistently back in the top four. And if you feel like Pochettino has done all that he could, then you can hand it off to the next that could potentially bring us over the top. But that being said, it's like, the way that I look at it is Pochettino got us to within 90 minutes of the biggest trophy in the world. He did it he did it from the ground floor. And so from that standpoint, it's like all he needed was a bit of extra money and extra help. And we probably could have won it. And so from that standpoint, I look at it like if Pochettino can get us there, he can do it again. And this time, if Enoch 2.0 is willing to spend the money, then it is what it is. So that's going to do it.
I do believe that. I do believe that. But that if Poch, and I meant to say Poch in the summer, I think you won't get Poch before the World Cup.
Nope.
And I also feel his experience in managing PSG, his experience in managing the United States men's football team, and all the experience he's picked up now, he's more of an experienced manager. He's more Poch of the younger Poch to the Poch now. I think the Poch now would do better decisions than the younger Poch. I just want. I'm not a fan of Pochettino or coming back because I always said he was a loser. He didn't win anything. I know that goes against the grain, but I think Pochettino's the only man to save this football club. But the owners have to back him.
Yeah, well,
and we have the clean squad. We have the clean ranks as well.
When you look at the fact that, you're absolutely right. The job that he did at PSG, he was brought in to win the Champions League, and when you have that type of talent, it's going to be incredibly hard. It turns out that Neymar wasn't the right guy to have with Mbappe and a guy like Messi. But I digress. But I will say the job that he did at Chelsea was remarkable. That team was in utter disarray with so much talent, and he was able to sort it out and get that team back up the table. And so I give him a ton of credit for the work that he did at Chelsea. But it's the experience that he's had the second time around with Spurs. I would probably assume that, that's the thing. Is a lot of people don't like going back to your ex-girlfriend. But that being said, sometimes if you go back to your ex-girlfriend under the right circumstances, you end up spending a lifetime with that person. So, there are times when going back to the ex actually works out. So
that's true. That is so true.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Quickly, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, and also hit the notification bell. As we have reached 400, now we are turning the corner to 5, and of course 5 is going to allow us to do subscriptions and all those memberships and all that good stuff. So let's get this channel to 5 ASAP. Also, head on over to THFC Tottenham Till We Die and show the Dermotron some love, because that channel is absolutely popping off at the moment as well too. And Derma's doing incredibly good work over there with James and Rain, and hopefully I can persuade Rain to come on once or twice, because I actually enjoy that, guys.
Rain will. Rain, no problem getting on. And also big up to Tequila, who is off at the moment.
Yep.
But we miss you, and we look forward to having you back. But yeah, I don't know what it is, Steve. The channel sort of just exploded. We had a good end to the last year, but please do it here first. This guy puts a lot of good content out, a lot of late night content that helps me. If I can't sleep, I'll put Steve on if he's doing a watch long or doing something talking about the US team. And also, this is going to be your home for USA 2026 for all World Cup matches with the USA. Of course, I'll be doing my bit as well,
and also UK matches as well too. England, Scotland, and hopefully Ireland as well too. So this will be an absolute juggernaut when it comes to it. But that being said, also right around the corner is the start of the Major League Soccer season. So when it comes to US soccer, that is right around the corner, and of course, in all the preparation and build up leading to World Cup 2026, as the United States is the host nation as well too. And I know how much UK supporters out there, whether you're in Ireland, Scotland, and England, how much you guys love the US men's national team. Don't deny it. You know that the US under Poch is a guilty pleasure.
They're my guilty pleasure, I have to say. I remember in '94 when you had a semi good squad. I like the United team this year, USA team this year, Steve. I think
should be good.
Look, I'm going to make a bold claim now. I think this United team USA team could reach the quarterfinals. I think you're good enough to reach that. I don't know
I think that's the minimum.
But quarterfinals, I think you're good.
I think a quarterfinal has to be the minimum requirement of this team. This is now a team that's 4 years older, that reached the round of 16 against the Netherlands in 2022. And so from that standpoint, I think people are looking at the United States as a minimum quarterfinalist, if not getting to a semifinal, because I actually think the team has the talent in order to do it. It's just, as you understand, the World Cup is such a crapshoot. You know what I mean? Like it really is. And that there's a reason why I think only 6 teams have ever won it. So it's I'm looking forward to it though. But all right, that's going to do us. Derma, thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday afternoon. I appreciate it. Man. Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. I love doing these. This is good. I enjoyed doing this on Sunday afternoon. It's a good show to chill out to and relax to, and just listen to me and Steve talk football. I really enjoyed it, Steve, and I look forward to many of these more to come.
Thank you. I want to thank Wayne Bonner for stopping in the chat. Giant68, who stopped off in the chat, and I think we also had Carl Slim Blue, aka Audio Artisan. Thank you for taking the time out today, guys. And I want to thank all those that are tuning in on X. And also, I didn't do a TikTok live for this one, but I usually do them also for live streams as well, too. We usually do a pretty good job of that as well, too. So a lot of good stuff coming up. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you.
Yeah, come on, you.
And by the way, come on, you Spurs. Kulizevsky, get back. Come back soon, Kulu. Thank you.